2.
Okay, we're late because I lost the nutmeg. We can't start without that, obviously. Welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live. I'm your host, John Townsend, and we're going to be talking about fun 18th century stuff today. And I am joined by Ivy, who is on the other side of the time vortex.
Hello.
And running the console. And Lauren, who is in the chat and stuff.
Hello.
There they are. So they're there to help me, keep me on track, because I'll get lost along the way. Let me try to light my little lamp here. It's an oil lamp, and it'll probably go out, but we're going to try it. No, we found it. We found the nutmeg. The tavern is a little different. I've got all this lighting stuff here on the table because we just finished up a couple days ago the video for Sunday's video, which will be on 18th century lighting. We did a whole bunch of great stuff for lighting. So it'll be a fun episode. And it's actually based on a live stream that we did, I don't know how many years ago. How many years ago did we do that?
It was many years ago.
Many years ago, we did a video on lighting in the 18th century, and it's done really well. And so we thought, well, let's follow that up and make a video for kind of the regular thing going on. So have fun with that. So it's snowing. Like I was on someplace and somebody said something like, it's like, winter is coming all at once. This weekend, it's here. And yes, it is. It was snowing, and then it was raining, and now it's snowing, and it's blowing, and it's getting colder, and it's going to just keep getting colder. Like 2 hours ago was the top temperature, and it's going to slide all the way down to 0 for like one degree for the high on Monday. I can't wait. It's gonna be
be delightful. That's right.
Yeah, we're all excited about that. I see Lorraine, I see Tony, I see Luke, I see Elliot, I see Simon, I see Dave and the bearded caveman and Lorraine. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Do we jump right in to the snow?
Yeah, let's do that.
Snowy snow. Okay. Maybe we'll break this up. We've got some pictures of snowy snow. There, it went out. Yeah, my week isn't great. Snowy snow in the 18th century. And we're going to have fun with that. So let's jump in, and there we are. Is this Dutch, Lauren?
Yes.
Yes.
Many of them are.
Yes.
Winter stuff often.
Yeah. They like,
They have more winter there.
Right. They have lots of winter. They probably enjoy winter more than the rest of the world does.
I hope so. I hope they enjoy their winter.
It's like the rest of us, no, I'm not going outside to do a painting. It's winter time. My watercolor will freeze. But
maybe he did it from inside.
I hope so, too. Oh. I hope he's sitting inside with some hot chocolate, hopefully.
Yeah, something like that. We see the canal here and people skating, and it just keeps on going. It's almost like we can look out to sea and possibly there are ships out there. That's a guess. It could just be buildings. We see people and the people in the foreground do not seem to be enjoying winter.
They look a little bundled up.
And we do see snow like today, sort of blowing in, right? It's falling as we speak, which isn't always easy to capture.
It's why I pictured this. Why I chose this picture, because that's what it was conveying, and I really thought the artist did a great job making it feel like you're right there and it's snowing on you.
Yeah, we see canal boats and other kinds of boats specifically for this area. Notice under the bridge there's a sled there with a whole pile of probably firewood or something like that, and they're pulling it along. In front of that sled, there's another sort of very primitive, almost wheelbarrow kind of sled with, 2 people in it and somebody pushing it. We'll talk a little bit about that idea of pushing and pulling sleds and things in them a little bit later on. We see dogs and horses and lots of fun stuff. I like the two slanted people, like they're really going.
They're really fighting the wind.
Or they're just going, well, I mean, in the middle, in the middle ground, toward the back, in the middle of the canal. And it's like they're skating really fast.
That's true. It's conveying. They're making good progress.
They're scooting along there. But we do see people huddled against the wind and some people enjoying themselves. So we have probably the grumpy people, in the foreground. I hate this weather. And other people, finally it's frozen up, just like in real life. Let's see, what have we got? So we push back into 1746, and we have some very beautiful sleighs that they're using here. Do you know the location for this one, Lauren?
I'm not 100% sure. I can look it up though. It might not say though. I think this is a wiki comes and it doesn't always have a ton of data.
Yes, we've got people working on cutting logs in the background, and if you look over on the extreme right, we've got the horse and probably a sledge or something like that to haul the wood. Very, very important. Again, we'll touch on this later on. The idea that at certain times of year, even though it seems inconvenient, it's actually more convenient. They can do things at this time of year that they can't do in other times of year. So it could be that cutting some of these logs and moving them is much easier at this time of year because they can use the frozen river or frozen lake like a giant highway and move things across it very, very easily compared to if they were cutting that wood and they would either have to figure out how to move it through the woods or float it down the river, and maybe they don't want it to work like that, or it's difficult to float down the river because of the way it's, whatever.
So the title of the painting is Norwegian Winter Landscape.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Norwegian. It kind of looked a little Canada to me, but I don't see a lot of Canada artwork from this time period, so that makes sense. And it's also interesting that there, in a lot of these different places, you really can't tell a lot of difference. The dress and the mode of the sleighs and their work, it's all essentially the same European things and even things going on in North America here in this time frame. So. This again is from the Netherlands with you can tell by the boat design here with the lee boards, and they're cutting ice and they're playing on the ice. They're playing hockey on the ice or something like, or golf on the ice. I don't know what the people on the extreme
I'm not
right.
sure. I've seen it in other pictures.
Yes, they got some kind of
a fun winter
clubs things, something we don't know. And the ships are frozen in, and that if it doesn't get too thick, the ships are fine with that. Obviously, there are circumstances where too much heavy, thick ice will crack a ship open. Very, very bad thing. But you can see here the ice, even that's cut in the foreground, is only 4 or 5 inches thick. Plenty safe to be out on. With a goodly amount of weight, but not enough that's going to hurt the ships. Did you want to jump in, Lauren?
I do have a couple of super chats. So I have one from Mandatory Carrie that just says thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And then I have a question from, let's see, hold on. It's quite a ways. Okay, from Macaroni Gluer. Regarding the Lapland live stream, was tin thread the origin of Christmas tinsel? And I did a quick search, and it looks like people are pretty sure that Christmas tinsel was from the early 17th century in Germany, but that it was made in a similar way, that it's very fine metal. They were thinking silver, but I'm not sure tin wouldn't be much better because it doesn't tarnish the same way. So
yeah, and it's a lot easier to form.
And it is called tinsel.
And it's called tinsel. I think they were saying that that it was from a French word that meant spark. But I still think that they're very similar in that they're both that fine metal that's meant for decoration specifically.
Yeah, and tinsel's one of those weird things that I don't know why it isn't very popular anymore.
Maybe it's because it's hard to clean up.
Yeah, it's a real pain to clean up. But
But if it was actual metal, that you
Yeah.
would be saving it, and that it wouldn't be like the little plastic tinsel we have now.
yeah, when you see pictures, well, when I was a kid, years and years ago, while dinosaurs still roamed the earth, tinsel was a thing, and seemingly that was the end of the era, and tinsel was much more common, say, like in the 50s or something, before my time. But tinsel, tin thread, I don't know.
Okay, I think we're all caught
Was
up.
that it? Okay.
I think so.
We jump back in. And we are, it looks like almost like one of those ice festivals, where people get out on the ice and they have a party. This is a small scene of that. Maybe this is just people, ice skating party and a sleigh out here and, kids falling down and playing in it. And notice the little sled with the barrel on it, probably for drinks, right? And hauled it right out here, and they've put up a very quick impromptu tent, which is, you see this kind of tent style just all over in different kinds of fairs. Seems like a lot of the tents in the time period were very ad hoc affairs. Basically put up some sticks and throw some tarps over it, and that's a tent. It's close enough. Today we sew them all up and they're exactly, one way with their geometry, and these, most of the time here in the 18th century, a lot of fair kind of tents are just slopped together. And the classic sort of a mug or pitcher hanging from the top there, which is sort of a sign. This is the tavern. This is the impromptu tavern. That's our sign. Come and have a drink. And we see different people playing out here. We have the background. We have the really interesting sleigh and the horse with the tack that's kind of fancy looking. Maybe even with bells on it. Probably. So it's very, very fun picture, and the dog, and I like the guy at the very edge on the right hand side with the muff, which is, we've seen those a couple of, how many weeks ago was it? We had the shop, and it was like they were all muffs. It was like a muff shop.
Yes, that would have been, I think, the one on Black
Shopping?
Friday. So
Yeah, really neat.
They're all on Friday, Lauren.
Black Friday. So the one after Thanksgiving.
Oh, it was a Friday live stream. Oh. This sort of, we've got two images here. It's kind of like they're probably kind of copies of one another or of a similar scene, because we do have the little sleigh and the person sitting in it and somebody pushing in it. And then this odd larger sleigh pulled by the horse with a very particular kind of tack, and it's a swan.
It is. It's a swan sleigh.
See, the other day when I said something looked like a swan boat, now I don't feel nearly
That's
as
right,
silly.
because this
They
one
had swan
is a swan.
sleighs.
A swan sleigh.
And it seems to be like a very specific design that's repeated over and over, that it's specifically that's the nobleman's sleigh there. That's coming down.
Maybe. And it seems like a single person. Maybe it's, a suitor and, somebody's,
Could be.
It's like,
It's like, quick, get out the sleigh. The snow's just right for it.
Yeah, it's like a, don't worry, I'll take you on a trip, and crash and burn. Anyway, there's the guy with the muff almost in the center, giant, taking off his hat, probably, saluting as they go by. The two people in the background with the skates on, and one of them's got the big long stick. Maybe the big long stick is for balance or something.
I think so. I think that's what it's for. Because you see the skaters using it very frequently. Not all the skaters,
I
but
wonder, I don't see anything like that happening today. So do people go skating and use anything for a counterbalance?
Maybe
Anybody
because
seen that?
you're on a rink usually, and
You might whack somebody.
right, you might whack somebody.
Well, that would be interesting. Sort of like a weighted hockey stick. You thought a hockey stick was dangerous enough? Wait till you have one with a big weight at the end of it. So apparently what's happening here is they need to open up the canal to bring this canal boat in, and so they are cutting the ice so that they can move it through. We got people skating in the background. Again, they're all leaning and everything. We can see they're moving around rapidly. Fun way to show the dynamics in a static piece of art. People enjoying promenading and watching this going on. We've got the horse and the sleigh, and then we have this foreground with the axes and with saws, and then the people with the poles, probably with hooks, to drag the blocks of ice out. Question, are they going to use that ice for something specific? Maybe they're loading that boat up with ice. I don't know. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? It's like, oh, I need to, we're going to collect the ice, but we're going to collect it in a boat, and you kind of move it ahead.
It seems like it would be a better way to transport it than a lot of ways.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I thought it was interesting.
I don't think it said, I don't
Right.
think there was any information on this one about.
Right. The reason why I
What's
say
going
that
on?
is because I don't see any of the ice they've already cut.
That's true, and it would have had to go somewhere.
Right. And there's nothing to haul it away in either.
Honestly,
Maybe they
the
could-
picture is bigger. I did crop it down a bit, so I'm wondering if there was a bit more on the right. But I don't remember seeing any ice over there. So
I mean, I suppose you could cut the blocks and shove them under the ice to get them out of the way.
that's true.
I've done things like that before, so that's possible. And the saws and everything, I mean, this is from a time period that is probably, a good, 50 years before we typically think about sawing ice up in the United States, and they're using essentially exactly the same tool. So apparently that kind of goes back for a long time.
okay, I've got a couple different.
Sure.
Okay, so one of them is a member chat from James Glenn. Greetings, fellow Nutmegians. Safe travels, everyone. And yeah, it's getting a little slick out there where we are, so.
Yeah. And we're
be
going to
careful.
try traveling later on tonight, so it'll be fun.
It will just take the 4-wheel drive. And then there's a message from Ashley LeCount. I enjoy first winter. I don't enjoy second and third winter after first spring.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it is. I really enjoy the first snowfall. It's beautiful. And then you get a nice thaw, and then you get to the end of January, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for spring.
Yeah, it gets to be a grind after a while.
Then February is still
Yes.
pretty
And
chilly.
then March, we have the mud month, where everything's just mud and brown sticks.
And then there is a super chat from Max Harcool. Any idea if sleigh bells served a function, or would they primarily bling to show you were cool enough to have sleigh bells?
Do you have any answer for that one, Laura?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the Lapland one, the person specifically mentioned that it was so you could tell where the sleigh was. And I would think that would also be really helpful on roads, because normally you could hear the horse clops knowing that someone was coming, but that if you had a sleigh and it was muted, that it would be really helpful to know, if for safety reasons, for all the
Yeah,
pedestrians to
it's
know there was
really
a sleigh
quiet
coming.
as you're moving along.
Yeah.
So
And that is a total guess, but I'm going to go with that as the answer. And then Twisted Branches Fishing says, do any examples of colonial era sleds exist today? I didn't run across any, because I did quite a bit of searching.
yes,
And I didn't,
I would bet there are.
I did see sleighs, but I didn't see any sleds, without the
like
runners, but
sledges,
just like a sledge. But maybe that's just because I didn't run across any, but I didn't run across any. But it would be nice, because it would be fun to see the construction and see how they were actually put together.
And there might be some detailed technical drawings in Diderot's. I know there's lots of carriage stuff. I'm just not sure.
Yes, there
Sleigh
is a
doesn't-
lot of carriage stuff. And then there's a super chat from Speed and Style Tony. Did they put special shoes on the horses for the ice? And in the ice when we were doing the ice trade one, it talked about them putting spiked. There was actually a video, a black and white video of an older, I think.
So it's quite likely.
Yeah, that they had that for safety because.
Yeah, and they had special
hazard.
cleats for shoes too that would strap on the instep and give you a couple little spikes so that you could walk on slippery things, which leather-soled shoes get very slippery.
In about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like they can't even handle slightly damp grass.
And for some reason, whenever I wear my leather-soled shoes on my period shoes out in the snow, it instantly builds on the shoe. I've never had other shoes have that. But with those leather soles, you just start getting taller and taller because the snow sticks to the bottom of your shoe and it just keeps like building like a snowman. It's not good. Anything else?
We're all kind of
Speed and style? Oh, yes. Okay. Wasn't there one about debris in the ice?
Maybe I missed it. Hold on.
It's up on the screen.
Ah, yes. How did people make sure there wasn't debris in the ice? You didn't, and you hope there wasn't. Sometimes you see things stuck in the ice, but generally and you probably pick kind of cleaner spots to.
There was, in the ice trade one and some of the stuff I was reading, they were talking about one particular pond that they took it out of, and they were saying how it was a nice clear lake. That's one of the reasons they picked it was it didn't have, because it was, probably because it was deep, I imagine. Yeah. So that the ice that was good quality that they were taking out.
Well, it depends on what the bottom is, right? All the lakes around here are mud lakes. So the bottom is just muddy. But like out on the East Coast, there's a lot of just rock, and you can see all the way to the bottom. So they would make a great ice kind of place to harvest. So I'm going to tell me about it. Snow stilts. Let me jump in real quick. Every week I try to get to Patreon people. Of course, it was a marathon last week, so I couldn't jump in and do that. New and renewing YouTube members, Joellen Levitra, Jessica Gasparini, Lindsay Heyman, Christina S., Midwest Minutemen, Jim Montgomery. Let me try to say this one right. It's probably Peter, or it's like that version of a slightly different pronounced Peter. Shimazik, something like that. Night 9697. Then there's someone called Human Filth. That is just a wonderful name there. Matthew Slade, David Collar is always in there. Thank you, David. And Donna B. We've got new Patreon people: Marcus Temier, Seth, Liberty Tree 12, and Vi, or just V. I don't know which ones that is. And then, of course, there's all the wonderful Townsends Plus folks. So thank you, everyone who helps support us so directly like that. Should I read one of these? I guess you put all these readings connect with an image, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Okay, so we'll get to all that. We're going to jump right back into it. There we go. Okay, there they are doing the ice. Oh, this is the one we used for the thumbnail. Yes, people are throwing snowballs and causing trouble and having fun. The poor guy in the foreground, he's just, and then...
It kind of reminds me of a Western.
Mm.
You know, he's walking away from the people with the...
Snowball. Anyway. Yeah, I think he's going to be not very happy in the very near future. But again, this seems probably like a Dutch painting, especially with or drawing or whatever, with the clothing style and the look of what's going on here. The sleigh with the crazy tall runners. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Horse with all the special tack. So it is certainly time to get out the fancy sleighs. I'm surprised that one isn't in the shape of a swan. Just saying.
I just dropped in the chat a link to a picture of an actual existing antique.
There we go.
With one of those wooden swans.
Good job. This was so neat. Lauren was going to dump this one out and not have it in here, and I just liked it way too much. So it's, you think it's silver?
I can look.
So it might be silver, it might be, I don't know.
You just talk about the rest of it.
It's like
I'll
a
tell you what it
toy,
is.
a toy thing. So it's small, little sculpture thing with the horse, with the sleigh, and I mean, it's probably a whip. It all again looks like it's a giant spoon or something.
Very dangerous.
I'll get you. But just a wonderful workmanship for a tiny little toy thing. The face looks a little, like he hit a door too fast or something. But
I imagine it's hard to work on that smaller scale.
yeah, it is. It's a tricky scale, but a beautiful piece in a museum, undoubtedly.
Yes, this is the Rijksmuseum.
Yes.
They have a lot of miniature toy things that's very cute. And, okay. Nope, doesn't say what it is.
Okay, there it is. It's made out of metal.
Oh, it's silver.
Yeah,
there it is.
we go. It's silver. It just looked a little too. It looks like possibly it's brass silver plated. You can kind of see, but I'm just guessing. Another obviously Dutch with the, the flag and the windmill and all that. Not that there weren't windmills in other places, but in fact, there were a lot of windmills in North America, and we just don't have images of them, which is, I find, very intriguing. We have sort of a winter carnival thing going on here. A lot of people out on the ice, again with the impromptu tent. You can even see, again, with the little pitcher or a drinking mug hanging from there, telling everyone, it's a tavern, head over here. I love the little kids, the one by himself. He's got a sled and he's using two poles to move it along. So that's interesting design there. More of those kind of one-person sleighs, single horses, normal design, and this kind of sledge where you push it and you can transport goods that way. So lots of fun things going on there. Dogs on the ice. Oh, there we go. We push right into the tavern, and we even see someone with wooden shoes, which you don't see that often in.
Well, they were talking in the chat about how the wooden shoes actually might work a bit better on ice.
Oh yeah.
Which I would have taken anything over a leather shoe on ice.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they probably would be quite insulated.
Yeah, and you can fill them with either straw. Sometimes you see pictures of that, or sheep's, like a sheepskin or something, and have a nice warm shoe to wear. Maybe a little clunky,
Worth it.
Probably worth it. Yes. Love those winter. Yeah, there we go. Close up on the boy pushing himself along. People skating with a string between them. Maybe it's so they can run and trip people. Like skate. Each one
That
goes on
seems
two sides.
very likely.
Oh yeah. Hey, let's have some fun. No, they would never do that.
No.
No. Now, this has the canoe reading, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so this is Canada, right?
Yes.
This actually connects with this reading.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it's from this book. We got Native Americans or different kinds of guides dressed like Native Americans, people moving with the, dogs in the boats. We see the background of people clearing off the land, starting a homestead, having different kinds of houses and fences, and you can see all the tree stumps still. They haven't been able to clear those out. They're waiting for them to rot so they can pull them out of the ground. It's a book And can you tell me what the title of the book is?
Okay, hold on just a sec. It's
Okay.
in the description. It's Travels in the Interior, and then it goes on.
Yes, we'll call it Travels in the Interior.
And it's by Patrick Campbell, I believe.
There we go. So let me read the little bit here. It's in a different order. It does have to do with snow here, but the first beginning part has to do with the water, with going by canoe. And he says something like, I had to go from 270 to 300 miles by water through broad and rapid streams broken by stones and rocks, which made it both unsafe and intricate to get up against them in a small birch bark canoe. In a canoe that could hardly carry my dog besides the poleman or navigator and myself. Of all this, I was informed by others, as well as my nephew, the engineer, who pressed me much to wait until next May, when I might, without any danger of being overtaken by snow in the mountains, get through with more safety, and mentioned that. And then here's the story about snow. Lord Fitzgerald, who had undertaken such a journey a year or two ago from Frederickstown to Quebec in the dead of winter, was well provided with a small party, snowshoes, and everything necessary for such an undertaking. That he had large dogs to carry their provisions on toboggans on the snow, and that before he crossed the mountains, which here rise one above another for more than 100 miles, he himself and 2 or 3 more who pushed on thought it advisable to send back the rest. That by the time they descended into Canada, their provisions were far exhausted and their clothes so torn to rags by bushes, and no game falling in their way, that they began to despond, and at length lost all hope of ever seeing a human creature again. With these gloomy thoughts they continued on for 8 or 10 days, still pushing on, directed by their pocket compasses, until providentially they fell in with the snowshoe track of an Indian. It's pretty darn deserted, who had been hunting very deep in the woods. They followed it, and it led them to his wigwam, where they refreshed themselves. And then the Native American guided them to Quebec, or they would probably be dead in the woods now.
Right? Just lost.
Yes.
Because they clearly
Lost in the winter. It
got
sounded
a
like
little too far from
yeah,
civilization.
it sounded like it was like bad idea, guys. You know, maybe you shouldn't have gone that way.
Good idea to take the river, apparently.
Yeah, the birch bark canoes are very delicate, and I like the dog.
He looks so cute, peeking his head over. He probably is doing his best to tip the boat.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a super chat.
Yes.
So this is from Ashley LeCount. I got married in December. Congratulations. We had our family sleigh from the late 1800s, early 1900s for decoration, and people put their gifts in it.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be so pretty?
That would.
And
Very
such
nice.
a nice use for it, to incorporate it into the
Yes.
celebration. That's
Yes,
lovely.
and congratulations. Yeah. These are interesting sleighs. But what's more interesting is, what the heck did they tame to pull them along? Like
Of some four-footed animal, for
some
sure.
kind of pig horse thing? I don't know.
And I just loved it, because the very first time I saw the picture, the top sleigh, it just looks like a little caterpillar to
Yeah.
me. A little curled up.
Caterpillar sleigh.
Cozy.
It
I
says
like the caption, prettier and perpetually
oversetting.
oversetting.
Yeah.
And then the other one, you're like, safe and pleasant. Maybe not as pretty.
Right.
But
And only pulled by one horse, so probably not going nearly as fast. But notice they've got nice, warm, lots and lots of furs that are sticking out there. And
they look toasty in their little sleigh. Tucked out.
so you were mentioning that the author or the artist here wasn't, that his horses all didn't look like Like,
Well, there was a picture of
horses?
a dog, and the dog looked like a real dog. It didn't look like these
maybe he
horses.
didn't like horses.
Maybe that's true.
This is what I think about you.
Or, more disturbingly, maybe the horses actually look like
Yeah.
that.
Well, we beefed them up for winter. Okay. I'm sure you can read this. Very easy to read. Who is it again? Wordsworth?
Oh, this is Blake.
Blake. There we go. Blake. I knew it wasn't Wordsworth. Blake. It's a poem about snow, and you can even see here there was a line, and it kind of has a line that's drawn through it. I'll read you the two versions here of it. The poem is called "Soft Snow." You can almost read his writing. I walked abroad in a snowy day. I asked the I asked the soft snow with me to play. She played and melted in all her prime. And then he tried this. That sweet love should be thought a crime. And then he drew a line through that and said, and the winter called it a dreadful crime. There we go. So that is Blake. A skinny dog. And it's nice that we get to see this little simple sled closer up. So we can see the similarities between it and wheelbarrows of the day. And it seems like a kind of sleigh that would be kind of interesting and fun to build. Makes something like that. You could even use something like this at a reenactment, not in the winter time, but you could pull that along the grass, and would probably be something that's very appropriate for a time period and pretty simple to build. So I'm interested in that. And notice we would call them Canadian caps, but obviously this is very European, and they're missing the little toupee.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
They're you see them in Dutch paintings too.
Right. So not a culturally specific hat there.
Probably for cold weather hats.
Yes. So this is the start. So I've got the Founder's Share Certificate, but it has to do with this, right?
The Turnpike, yes.
Right, Turnpike.
So this
right.
is just a letter about the Turnpike. Just a very official document about it. But what Dad has is the rates that the Turnpike would charge for the different types of vehicles going on.
Let's see, is there a date in the year of our Lord 1797, I think? Yeah, 1797. So she pulled this out because of what's happening here. The certificate had a lot of text on it, but about the people who hold the shares, but this also talked about what they could charge and on this turnpike. So the following rates of toll. For every coach, phaeton, chariot, or other four-wheeled carriage drawn by 2 horses, 25 cents to drive over this section of road. If drawn by more than 2 horses, an additional sum of 4 cents for each horse. For every cart, wagon, sled, or sleigh drawn by 2 oxen or horses, 10 cents, a lot less money. If drawn by more than 2, an additional sum of 3 cents for every such ox or horse. For every curricle, 10 cents. For every chaise, chair, or other carriage drawn by 1 horse, 9 cents. For every man and horse, 5 cents. For every oxen, horses, neat cattle, led or driven, besides those in teams or carriages, 3 cents each. For all sheep, swine, 3 cents by the dozen. And in that proportion for greater or lesser number, blah, blah, blah. So you get an idea if you're going down the road in, colonial or 1797, in Massachusetts in 1797, you might run into any of these things. And that includes even sleighs and sleds that are drawn by oxen, which would be an interesting thing to see. And there we go. Whoop. This is this like just paper art?
Yes. So it's a paper cut silhouette, and then they've embossed it a bit to add some texture.
And we see almost exactly the same kind of scenes playing out. It must be Dutch almost because of the look of the house.
Yep, I believe so.
Right? So they've just kind of done their art in a different way, which is very interesting. Trees with birds in them and people with the sleigh. And I don't know if he's just by himself. I don't think there's anybody in it. People slipping and falling on the ice.
Right, it's a little harder to see the what's happening in the white section, but there is definitely still stuff going on.
The dog, the person with the stick and ice skates, and the person with the kind of pushing sled thing going on there. Very interesting piece of different kind of media than we normally see.
Yes, and doing a lot of fine detail for paper.
So earlier we saw that sled with the keg on it, and here we see almost exactly the same thing. This is later. This is what, 1830s?
It had a range. It was like, could be from as early as 1810 to maybe as late as 1840, depending on, it wasn't dated. So
Right. It's kind of tough to tell by the clothing here and what's going on. You definitely know it's a little bit later. But we have that same kind of short sled with a keg on it. And the person riding on the back, who just seems to be, riding for the fun of it.
Yep.
He doesn't really need to.
Slowing down the...
Yeah.
Maybe he's stabilizing it so it doesn't fall off?
Yeah, right.
Sure.
He probably just doesn't want to miss out when it gets opened at the other end, right? So, that's what's going on there. We get sleigh bells again. We can see them around the horse's neck.
That's true.
So bells on the horse. And, riding right along there with the, kind of a twofer thing here. We got a horse that's being ridden and it's pulling something. Normally you kind of...
That's true. You don't normally see that.
See both of those things happening at once. Again, a little bit later here, 1822, and we have people playing in the snow with a teeter-totter, and they don't look like children.
No, they look like young ladies, certainly.
Yeah.
But they seem to be having a lot. I like this because they are clearly enjoying their winter time here.
Yeah.
They're dressed for the snow, and they are all wrapped up and having fun.
And a very primitive teeter-totter, it's a big thick board on some logs.
Right, and you can see how it's made. And
I've played on teeter-totters like that.
Yeah. And a big muff on the person in the background who's probably saying, "Is it time? It's time to go in now. I've had my time outdoors." 1824, and we have an image here of igloos being made, and we have this.
okay, this is from the Journal of a Second Voyage for the Discovery of a Northwest Passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific in 1824.
And it reads something like this. I'm not going to read it. It's giant, so I'm going to just read a couple little sections out of it. In their winter habitations, I have before mentioned that the only materials employed are snow and ice, the latter being made use of for the windows alone. The work is commenced by cutting from a drift of hard and compact snow a number of oblong slabs, 6 or 8 inches thick and about 2 feet in length, laying them edgewise on a level spot, also covered with snow, in a circular form of a diameter from 8 to 15 feet, proportioned to the number of occupants the hut is to contain. And upon this foundation is laid a second tier of the same kind, but with the pieces inclined a little inwards and made to fit closely to the lower slabs and to each other by running a knife adroitly along the under part and sides. The top of this tier is now prepared for the reception of a third by squaring it off smoothly with a knife, all of which is dexterously performed by one man standing within the circle and receiving blocks of snow from those employed in cutting them without. And then the little part about the ice, For admission of light into the huts, a round hole is cut on one side of the roof of each apartment, and a circular plate of ice 3 or 4 inches thick and 2 feet in diameter is let into it. The light is soft and pleasant, like that transmitted through ground glass, and is quite sufficient for every purpose. So, I mean, it's interesting that they're, interacting with this sort of thing, and telling people about it here in 1824. We're back to the beginning. We have...
Okay, before you do that,
Yes.
I have a super chat I don't want to miss. So this is from Layla Lover 90. Hello once again from the Nutmeg State.
Nutmeg State, Connecticut,
I
right?
think so.
I think it's
Hopefully there's nutmeg around every corner.
Right. I think it must. I think they mine it there, don't they?
Yes, that's where they mine the nutmegs.
Anyway. Recipe we won't do. It's right there. The recipe we won't do. And what did we guess the pronunciation
I
was?
think it's just hogo. But it's such an archaic word, I really couldn't find a good
We don't know
pronunciation.
how they pronounce it. We're going to say hogo. It could be just like hogue or hote or something like that. Like,
The pronunciation is still a mystery, so.
yeah, because this one, the spelling isn't really found in any kind of modern sense, and so we don't know. Anyway, you take a leg of mutton, you take off the skin whole with the upper knuckle, and then take the flesh with a pound of beef suet and shred them very fine. So basically making like sausage or something. Take some spinach, a little thyme, savory, small shallots, shred them small, put in some salt and pepper, then take the yolks of 6 eggs, work the meat all together well into a great ball, so a huge meatball. Then take cabbage and open the leaves and cut a hole to put in the meat and shape it longwise. I don't know how you do that. Like the body of a duck. And you boil a duck's head. Hopefully you've got one around.
Laying around.
It's like, oh yeah, I got it. Wait, so there's a duck's head right here. Stick it on with a skewer and then bind the body close. And tie it up hard. And then boil it well. And have in some readiness some sausages fried, dipped in the yolks of eggs with a little flour and nutmeg, and a good deal of butter, with some anchovies dissolved in the sauce first, and beat up with the butter and pickles, and serve it up. So I'm not going to do that one.
No.
It's interesting. It's basically a farce where you make something look like something else. So we're going to make this big giant meatball look like a duck. And
I'm trying to envision what they were doing with the sausages. It seems like they were...
I think you just lay them around it.
Like you would like little oranges.
Yeah, they're just garnishing
just a
the
garnish. Okay,
dish,
sounds good.
Or maybe
I was wondering if they were like making like
could
little
make 'em in-
feet or tail or something, but maybe
you can make
just
them
a
in the
garnish.
shape of little ducks.
Yes.
So there's one of those recipes we won't do. Maybe something like it, but I'll guarantee you I'm never going to have a boiled duck's head on the channel. Never. Ever.
ALT Lawn Care was wondering if you could say hello to their 2-year-old daughter, Claire.
Hello, Claire.
Hi, Claire. So I wondered if you wanted to, do you want to mention once again what the upcoming video is going to be?
Upcoming video is on lighting. We'll be doing all kinds of talking about lighting in the 18th century, what kind of oil lamps they would have, what kind of candles they would have, what kind of difficulties they had. And yeah, I discovered some, every time I do a video, it doesn't matter. I've been, talking about 18th century lighting for 40 years. Okay, 30 years at least. And yes, I learned something new and was just mind blown as I was doing some of the research. Had fun with that. So Sunday's episode, make sure to check it out. Super thank you for all you folks that have been watching videos. There was the writing series, which has done really well. And neat that we were able to kind of compile all that up into one nice long episode. Some people really like the long episodes. Sometimes you want to, it's like, oh, I'm going to be doing the dishes for a long time. I want to just have this kind of play in the background. So people have a lot of fun with that.
Something longer than 10 minutes is very useful sometimes. Right. And then there was the marathon last week.
Yeah.
And then the potato soup, the very end, the last video of 2023.
Yes, the very last video put out on the last day of the year. And man, that potato soup episode, whew, really good, really popular. A lot of people are really enjoying Ryan in some of the cooking episodes. We're definitely, you're going to see more Ryan this year. And we've been working on kind of content ideas for this year. So we got a lot of fun stuff in the works. So we'll have fun with that.
I have a super chat here from Robert Cole. I thought pickled smelt was the forbidden recipe. LOL.
Well, there's more than one.
There's definitely more than one.
Pickled smelt. Well, we did that.
Never again.
Well, I mean, we do it right this time. We needed a lot of, we put a lot of nitrites, whatever in that one, and I'll bet you just salt them. Just salt them.
There are definitely times when a recipe doesn't work and you're like, did this not work because my ingredients are off from what they used, or my skill is not up to this recipe?
The problem with that one was probably that we were following a recipe, but their ingredient had much less concentration than ours. And so the concentrated modern form was just way too much, way over the top.
And there is a super chat from Susan LeWay. Weren't lanterns one of the first things sold by Townsends?
Yes. So the very first name of the business was Casa de la Luz, House of Light. And then it didn't take very long where it's like, why do we have a Spanish name? And then Dad thought it up, okay? He thought it was neat. And then we changed the name of the business to Frontier Lanterns. And a lot of what we sold was just lanterns. It was part of the logo. And in fact, it's still part of our logo, the lantern inside of the sign. But we branched out much more in the first 10 years or so after the beginning of the business. And so regular wares became kind of more important. And so we changed the name to James Townsend and Son. And now, of course, like the channel is just Townsends. It just keeps getting simpler and simpler. It's a complex and then simple.
All right, I think we're all caught up.
We did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got to rush out into the snow, try to get home from the Nutmeg Tavern. Hopefully you'll be able to get home from the Nutmeg Tavern without any problems. Probably be a lot easier for you because all you have to do is go boop, and then you're home from the Nutmeg Tavern. But thank you for visiting, virtually or whatever, coming into the tavern today. It's been a joy to interact with everybody. It's always fun to do the research, look at the artwork, kind of get a feel, just a tiny little taste of what's going on in the 18th century. Always fun. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Super Chat folks, and Patreon, Townsends Plus, and all that, the membership things. All extremely helpful and helping us make yet more content. I think this is going to be our 15th year on YouTube. Can you imagine? That's crazy. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for watching.